I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we are reading from the book of Joshua, chapter 5, and let's focus on verses 2 through 5. At that time, the Lord said to Joshua, "Make flint knives and circumcise the Israelite men again." So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the Israelite men at Gibeath ha-Araloth. This is the reason Joshua circumcised them. All the people who came out of Egypt, who were males, all the men of war, had died in the wilderness along the way, after they had come out of Egypt. Though all the people who came out were circumcised, none of the people born in the wilderness along the way were circumcised after they came out of Egypt. You know, sometimes our sin cannot be fully realized in our lifetime. It's like a time bomb, you know. This is especially true with the so-called secret sins or the sins of the heart. Of course, God knows everything, so there is no secret sin with God. But sinful thoughts and attitudes, which are not displayed in overtly demonstrative ways, well, they're still transmitted and they're caught by those who are close to you. And this is whether you know it or not. People close to you know you better than you may think, and some of them know you better than you know yourself. Not all people who do good deeds have good hearts, but all people whose hearts are right will do good deeds. If you follow a righteous person home and you spy on their intimate surroundings, you'll find that righteousness begins with simple habits of personal worship. They read their Bibles. They pray. They begin the day grounded in the Word. And then they teach God's Word to their children, and they share it with their spouses and their friends and their co-workers. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 6 and 7. This is the way the Lord set it all up. "And these words which I command you today shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently to your children. You shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up." Israel had developed a heart problem. After they had personally set themselves apart through circumcision, they had neglected to circumcise the next generation. So much so that every single boy born in the desert could be distinguished by his uncircumcision. God commanded Joshua to perform a simple, albeit extremely painful procedure that every parent had denied their baby boys on the 8th day after their child's birth. Interesting, doctors say that circumcision hurts infants much less than adults. Infants heal faster and are less mobile, thus irritating their circumcised area less. Now, concerning the Lord and His requirements of us, no questions or negotiations are allowed. Delaying obedience only delays the inevitable. The Exodus generation Israelites' lack of personal zeal had affected at least 2 generations. It affected their generation for not being zealous for the Lord, and it also affected their children's generation. Number 1, they were not personally allowed to enter the promised land. And number 2, they caused a double undue trauma on their own children. Now consider the way God set it up once again. Psalm 78, verses 5 through 8. "For he established a testimony in Jacob, and he appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, the children who would be born, that they might arise and declare them to their children, that they may set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep His commandments, and may not be like their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that did not set its heart aright, and whose spirit was not faithful to God." So which kind of generation do you want to be? One that returns to the Lord and then walks according to His word? Or one that denies the Lord and causes trouble not just for your generation, but a massive load of problems for the next? I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Check us out at groundworksministries.com.